Stand by to fall in, Polk County. This is today's veteran. Hello and welcome, and on behalf of everyone at the Office of Polk County Veteran Services, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart, and on this installment of Today's Veteran, we chat with Colonels Don Selvage and Gary Clark about Heroes Park project in Lakeland. But we start off today's show with a look at a project partnership between the Retired Senior Volunteer Program and the Polk County School Board. RSVP provides a wide range of important community services in areas such as homeland security, public safety, health, education, the environment, and elder care. Joining us in studio is Kathy Drainville, RSVP Coordinator, and Infantry Sergeant Major Sherman Roberts, U.S. Army retired. Welcome to today's veteran. Kathy, tell us, what is RSVP?
RSVP is the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program in Polk County. It is a part of the Senior Corps, one of three Senior Corps programs, and Senior Corps is a part of the Corporation for National and Community Service at the federal level that promotes community service amongst people who are 55 years and older is what we promote. And we have volunteers all over Polk County serving in various capacities with nonprofit agencies. We also have a couple of signature programs that we run through our RSVP program directly, and our main focus for our work plans is the education, and so we do a lot with the Polk County School Board. And as a part of the Corporation for National and Community Service, we recognize a lot of the national days of service that the federal government has in place, one of which is the National Day of Service and Remembrance in honor of 9/11.
And Sherman, how are you involved in the program?
I got involved by the RSVP program asking me to go out and receive letters that the education students have written for our veterans out in the field. So I was asked to go in and speak to them, receive the letters, and thank them for what they've done for our veterans.
How was that turnout? Did that go well? Did that surprise you?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. At first, I thought the younger generation, the fourth, fifth, and sixth graders would not have done that well of a job of writing to our veterans, but they did an extremely great job of doing that. And I got to speak to them, and I thought the questions that they would ask me would be more of the line of, have you ever killed anybody, or how many times you shot your weapon? But they really asked some very interesting questions about where I was deployed to, where I was stationed at, the people that I served with, and then they asked a lot about all the medals that I was wearing on my jacket. Over 24 years, you tend to build a lot of those medals. I referred them back to the teacher was giving them mustaches for doing good things in their classroom. So I tried to play on that and show the students that I received my medals just like they received their mustaches for doing a good job, and somebody recognizes them for that, which I think really played a great part on them, because it allowed them to see if you do good work and work hard, then there is an achievement behind that.
So you were in full uniform?
Yes, I was in full uniform, and again, I think it brought a lot to the actual talking to the students. If I was wearing civilian clothes, I don't think they would have paid that much of attention or asked as many questions. The high school students, I really wish I could have gotten to talk to them. Unfortunately, they were taking tests that day. But I would really like to have gotten their opinion about the military, because they're getting to the point where they're starting to graduate and getting ready to go out into our great world, and some of them will be joining the military. So I would have liked to talk to them as well.
Kathy, tell us a little more about the program. Is it confined to Polk County? Is it something that you have to coordinate, or is it easy to do with the school system?
The 9/11 Day of Remembrance, National Day of Service and Remembrance, is a national campaign, and we work in collaboration with the local AmeriCorps program and the Polk County School Board. And this writing campaign we've been doing now for several years within the schools, and we have our volunteers and the AmeriCorps volunteers go and retrieve the letters. It's open to all the school boards. The students across the county are invited to write letters, either to active duty military personnel or veterans, thanking them for their service. And then our volunteers retrieve the letters and read all of the letters and separate them, whether it's veteran or active duty. And then those letters are actually dispersed through veterans programs for honor flight recipients, participants, and then through other VA programs to disperse out to active duty military personnel. This was the first year we took an actual uniformed officer in with us to retrieve the letters, and it kind of made it more of a real experience for the children, where they realized they weren't just writing a letter to do an assignment. Someone was actually going to get this letter that they wrote, and it introduced a sense of patriotism to them, to kind of teach them that what happened on 9/11. Most of these kids weren't even old enough or even born yet when that event occurred. And through the process of doing this assignment, they not only become more aware of what people have done and what sacrifices people have made, first responders, military and veterans, for their behalf, but they also were able to recognize that things have happened here, that and it makes it more of a real experience for them and helps them to appreciate. And we got a real sense of that, as Sherman was saying, and the questions that were asked and the comments that were made, that the students really got what was going on, and it really made a difference in their thought processes.
Have you seen the veterans' reaction? Have you been able to do that at honor flight or any place like that?
We have not yet. These letters are still in the process of getting dispersed, but we have had some veterans in the past that have actually responded to some of the classrooms. We have had a classroom that received a letter back from a veteran, an active duty military, wrote a letter back to one of the classrooms, and it's really inspiring for the kids when they see somebody actually responded to this and it went somewhere and it really mattered to somebody.
And I would tell you that being active duty military for 24 years, being on several deployments, that when you receive a letter from a young American that's thanking you for your service, it really, really touches you deep down inside. I mean, we get letters from family that thank us and tell us that they're proud of us. But when you get a letter from somebody who doesn't even know you, and they're thanking you for what you're doing for your country, it really, really makes a big impact on your pride and your ability to do your job. These kids didn't just get an assignment. They actually had to watch the video of 9/11. And so the teacher expressed to me that when they watched that video, there was no talking in the classroom whatsoever. All the kids were just involved in watching that video so much that they were not playing, they were not doing their cell phones or whatever else. They were watching that video, and it really made an impact on them.
Quick story, I had a veteran in yesterday to the Veteran Service Office, and he was from up north, and the last comment he made as we were walking out was that I went on the honor flight up north, and it's a little different than it is here, but he said the highlight was mail call.
Mail call, sure.
And he says he still has the letters. He got a few letters, and He said he reads them all the time from kids. So the program works. And what's the future? Is it just an ongoing? Is it going to be here for a long time? What's the outlook?
Well, we do this annually, and our plan is to continue doing this project. This past one, when taking Sherman along, really brought a new life to receiving the letters from the students and making it more personal and real, and really has inspired me to try to focus more on making it more than just a writing assignment, but to really try to grow that patriotism and remind the students and teach them that people have sacrificed for them, and to really make it a learning experience beyond just writing a thank you letter. And my hope is that next year we'll be able to attend a few additional schools and have some more officers come and really expand that part of the program, because it really does make a more real impact on the students' lives.
Well, I can tell you, I saw Sherman as he was leaving our office, because he's one of our veteran service officers, and he looked very impressive. So, well, Kathy and Sherman, we are out of time. I want to thank you for coming on the show and telling us about your program. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
And for you folks at home, if you need more information about RSVP, you can give them a call at 863-534-5249, or look them up on the web at www.polk-county.net. The Retired Senior Volunteer Program partnered with the Polk County School Board, AmeriCorps, and other community partners to hold a letter writing campaign that students throughout the county participated in. The students wrote letters of thanks to active duty military personnel and veterans, and the letters are then sent to veterans and military personnel.
Are you guys excited this morning? Yes! We're excited too. We're excited to be here and talk with you just a little bit this morning, and thank you for something that you did for us, and talk a little bit about it. Does anybody?
Well, this is a new experience for the 5th grade. Just having someone come in and actually put a face to the letters. It's a very good connection for the students to see that their letter is making a difference. It is going to someone, and it's not just being taken off into the land of nowhere. There's actually a person here to collect it. So that's a good connection for these students, especially in our area. They don't get to really see a lot of people in this kind of job. So it's a nice way to kind of look up to someone.
I was only given for action in combat, okay, and I was given that as I maneuvered on a bunker complex under fire with my squad, okay. And the rest of them are just things that you get for doing a great job. It's kind of like you get your mustaches in here. I get those for doing a great job as well.
Because I get to see a military man talk to us and ask him questions.
It was very to go have him in our school. I was like shocked. It was amazing.
And so just having a new face in here, they're really intrigued by who's talking, what they have to offer to them to hear. It's just good for those students to, again, see someone in the profession and a role model. And I think that's good for those students, and that's why they're very intrigued by the conversations going on, the stories. They could probably sit here all day and listen to them, because it's a new face. It's not me sitting there and just talking about here's a story or here's someone's life. It's actually their personal life that they can listen to.
Well, what we did was we received an email asking us if we were interested in doing letters, writing them to our veterans, and I was raised very patriotic home, so it's a big deal in my family. And the biggest thing for me was to treat all of my students the way my family treated me. I mean, they're my babies, I'm their mama. So once I saw this assignment, I thought, well, shoot, these kids were only maybe a year old when this happened, 9/11. So first I got video clips it was news footage, so they could actually see what we saw that day. So as it happened, they were able to watch the actual news, and they saw the planes crashing into the buildings, and that hit them hard. They had never seen that before. Most of the time they just saw textbooks and pictures, and they just heard about the day. So I wanted them to see what we saw and feel what we felt that day. And I had them watch it. Then after I saw that it touched them and the impact that it had, then I told them about, okay, now we're gonna write letters. Because I thought it would be better if they understood why, without me just saying, you should be thankful for your veterans, here, write a letter.
It's important to serve those who fought for us because they're the brave ones, they're the true heroes of the United States because they sacrificed their lives for our lives.
And I think it's important that we should show our gratitude towards them because they didn't have to do that. They chose to give their life, risk everything they have to fight for us and keep us safe.
I was blown away by how they responded to those video clips. And I read every single letter that they wrote. So they wrote really good letters, and I was very proud of what they did.
Thank you.
Thank you ladies very much.
I would say I'm really grateful for them because I wouldn't have the opportunities I would right now.
Thank you for saving our country and taking care of us.
Welcome back to Today's Veteran. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart. In the historic Moorhead community, a tract of land was developed in 1974 on the west end of the Lakeland Center and designated Bicentennial Park in 1976. Renamed Veterans Park 30 years later in 2006, the mission of the park is to pay tribute to those who serve our country and community in the armed forces, law enforcement, firefighting, and emergency medical services. EMS, and to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Joining us in studio to talk about the park's transformation and newest tribute is Lakeland City Commissioner Don Selvage, retired Colonel, United States Marine Corps, and Chairman of the Polk County Veterans Council, Colonel Gary Clark, retired United States Air Force. Gentlemen, welcome to Today's Veteran. Let's get started, and I think you're going to tell us a little bit of history about Heroes Park.
The idea of Heroes Park, which is really named right now the Veterans Memorial Park in Lakeland, was a vision that we had stemming out of the Veterans Council a number of years ago. The idea was to make this park a destination location, because it's unique in many ways. It's unique in the sense that it honors 3 first responders, if you want to characterize it in that fashion. It already hosted the Polk County Law Enforcement Memorial. Subsequently, it's added the Firefighters Memorial for Polk County, and it has long had memorials there honoring veterans. And over the past several years, as we've sort of brought that park to fruition, at least under the general guidelines of the vision that we had in mind, we've added a number of other memorials. The Purple Heart Memorial there, recognizing Polk County as a Purple Heart County, was placed there a couple years ago. A year ago, we added the World War II Memorial there, which is a development in motion, if you will, because we've got other monuments that are going to be added around that to recognize various activities and contributions that individuals made during World War II. And now we are adding probably what's going to be one of the most unique memorials, and that is the Global War on Terror Memorial that's being added to the park as we speak. And it's certainly going to be something that people will want to see, and get an appreciation for. But the broad perspective of that park has really three objectives in mind. One is to recognize and remember. The other is to a place of reflection, and finally it's a place of learning. You can't go to Washington and visit the memorials there and not come away with a deep, abiding appreciation for the sacrifices that were made in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam, and of course the other memorials that are there, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial, etc., and recognize the sacrifices that people made to maintain the freedoms that we enjoy. And that's kind of the idea behind this park as well at a local level, is to have people come away with an appreciation for what not just happened in the broad perspective of contributions to various conflicts, but in a way what was done here in Polk County from the law enforcement side, from the fire services, EMS side, and the veteran side. What contributions were made by this community?
Gary and I met with the Chief of Police, Roger Boatner of Lakeland, and Mike Mower, the Chief of the Fire Department. It's been over about 10 years ago. We met them at the park, and we told them this is what we wanted to do. And in that started the process by which more than just the Veterans Council has participated. We've had stakeholders, the Fraternal Order of Police, the county and city fire department, the unions from the firefighters, Parks and Rec from Lakeland, the architect firm of Furr and Wegman. And so in 2005, we had a big afternoon conference where we sat down with all the stakeholders, said, what do we want that park to be? We didn't want it to be a skateboard park. We didn't want running paths there. We wanted a place where people could reflect and pay tribute in solitude if they prefer, a place where grade school kids could come and be told about the sacrifices that had been made by men and women in uniform. And it gathered its own momentum. Once we created the vision, people started buying into it. Mike Mason from the Veterans Service Office here in Polk County spearheaded the effort for the Purple Heart Monument. We've had other groups, the Battle of the Bulge, the Dardos of the American Revolution. We've had a POW family come to us. And so the park is unfolding, and thanks to Colonel Clark's leadership and the Veterans Council, we are seeing it emerge to meet that vision that the four of us talked about well over 10 years ago.
What about the funding? How does the money come to keep growing?
All from donations. Now, you know, when we went to the city a number of years ago, as Colonel Selvage mentioned, and said, first of all, we wanted to change the name of the park. It was called the Bicentennial Park, and we wanted to change it initially to the Veterans Memorial Park, and they gave us the support. But implicit in that request was the idea that this would be because of the law enforcement memorial that was already there, and the fact that the Veterans Memorial that was there represented organizations from across the county. It was going to be a county park maintained by the city of Lakeland. I mean, so this is a Polk County endeavor, and as the firefighters came in to erect their memorial, I mean that solidified the whole effort behind that. And when we started down the path of doing the World War II memorial, a very quick story here is that I took a lady down there who was a Pearl Harbor survivor. She witnessed the attack. Her husband was a flight surgeon at the time at Pearl Harbor. She witnessed the attack, and she made a major contribution to construct the centerpiece of that World War II plaza, memorial, whatever you want to characterize, however you want to characterize it, and that centerpiece provides an overview of Pearl Harbor before, during, and after the attack, and that has become sort of the central part of that whole park, much like the World War II Memorial is the centerpiece of the mall in Washington.
Each monument has its own story and fundraising. And as a city commissioner in Lakeland, I assure my colleagues that when we embark on another project, this is going to be funded by philanthropists and givers. So we've had individuals, veterans, friends of veterans all over the county. We've had corporations like Home Depot. We've had major contributions from GiveWell, Community Foundation. For example, the Global War on Terror Monument has been spearheaded by a couple of young veterans. James Ring, who's a Chief Warrant Officer in the Guard or Reserves, and Melissa Sanchez, who is the wife of a veteran. She's been in charge of the Warrior Walk. And so here, this latest monument, I'm very pleased to say, we've had this new generation of veterans step up. And so we can show you contributions from $20 to $1,000 of people who say, yes, we want to recognize those contributions. So it's been through fundraising, a lot of fundraising over the last 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, and the construction of that, I should also point out that overseeing the construction of that monument is a young man who recently separated from the Naval Reserve, who works is one of the supervisors with Rada Construction. And so this is part of his life story as well.
The number of contractors, subcontractors, general contractors, Rada Construction, other people have stepped up and say, we'll do this for cost, or we'll donate this.
Yeah.
So it's been a joint effort under Gary's leadership to get countywide involvement, and the response has been very, very good.
Right. It's been really satisfying to see the whole area kind of grow and become more pleasant aesthetically as well as functionally. And we're not going to put tanks in the park. We're not going to put airplanes in the park. It's not designed for that, and we don't want it to be that. It's one that focuses on those three things.
It's a sobering place to go. You look at those 32 law enforcement memorials, the firefighters, the veterans. It's not a place to celebrate, it's a place to commemorate.
So it's very, it's having the effect that we want it to have. So.
Okay. Well, listen, we're out of time. Is there any parting comments that you would like to make to our audience?
And we hope that as a result of this, kids will become more interested in learning about the history of some of these things, whether it be Pearl Harbor or POWs or the contributions that women made during World War II and in subsequent wars. And but to be interested in the historical aspects of this, and that's what the park's designed to do.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on today's Veteran.
Thank you, Tim.
For more information about Heroes Park in Lakeland, you can go to www.lakelandgov.net. That's going to do it for this edition of Today's Veteran. I want to thank our guests today, Kathy Drainfield, Sergeant Major Infantry Sherman Roberts, Don Selvage, and Gary Clark. But most of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, call the Polk County Veteran Service Office at 863-534-5220 or log on to the Polk County website at polk-county.net. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart, and we will see you next month.